Why did you flex?
The best NFL weekend of the year is just 2 days away. Divisional round, Orlovsky and Shefty and J-Mac and Harry, and we are ready to roll. And we begin, as always, with Adam Schefter. We'll run the hurry up. We'll go through each of the games in the order in which they will be played. What do we know about the Kansas City Chiefs as they go up against Houston?
Greeny, all those Chiefs who were injured against the Broncos, who were rested against Denver, are all back at practice right now. Mahomes, Pacheco, Chris Jones, all practicing. The practice report is active. It's full. I'm sure the Cincinnati Bengals enjoyed seeing that from the comfort of their home in Cincinnati now that they've been knocked out of the playoffs. But the Chiefs are ready for Saturday's divisional matchup in full against the Houston Texans. And speaking of practicing in full, look who made it back to practicing in full this week. David Montgomery, the Lions running back, full participant in practice Wednesday, full participant in practice today, full participant and ready to go on Saturday against the Commanders. Dan Campbell has cleared him to go. That is a huge lift. On Sunday, the Philadelphia Eagles will be singing full this week. David Montgomery, the Lions running back, full participant in practice Wednesday, full participant in practice today, full participant and ready to go on Saturday against the Commanders. Dan Campbell has cleared him to go. That is a huge lift for the Lions offense. But on Sunday, the Philadelphia Eagles will be without their linebacker, Nakobe Dean, who they now have placed on IR after he suffered that devastating knee injury on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. He's out for the year, and that means that they're going to have to rely on a lot of different linebackers. But one of the players that the Eagles are watching here is Jeremiah Trotter Jr. What a story that would be if the son of the Eagles' legendary linebacker could step in and help this team advance in the postseason. And the marquee matchup later on Sunday will feature the Ravens and Bills, and it looks like the Ravens could be without their standout wide receiver, Zay Flowers, who hurt his knee in the regular season finale against the Cleveland Browns, went down on this play, missed last week's wild card game. The Ravens had thought that there was a chance that Flowers could make it back for Sunday afternoon's matchup against the Buffalo Bills, but the first practice of the week is a no practice, not a great sign. We'll see if Flowers can make it back. And the Ravens head coach John Harbaugh said that Flowers doesn't have to practice this week to be able to play on Sunday. One more element to keep in mind.
Feels like a critical injury. It's outstanding work, as always, Shefty, there as we set the table for this matchup. We're going to do the Lamar side of it, then we're going to do the Josh Allen side of it. Let's start with Lamar. And Dan Orlovsky, you stunned me as my quarterback, as the quarterback in my room, when I brought it up in the meeting this morning, Lamar, and you said he isn't the person who decides this game for Baltimore.
This game's not about Lamar Jackson. It's about Derrick Henry. And if you're the Buffalo Bills, how do you get Derrick Henry off the field? And that's the challenge is you got to contain Derrick Henry. You got to get him to stop his feet. You got to get him to move laterally. Now, the challenge is Buffalo has to play against 7 300-pound people on the field. They'll put 6 offensive linemen out, now Baltimore, and Patrick Ricard. And so you get this run game going downhill. And here's the thing. Derrick Henry's going to get 8 yards down the field before anybody touches them. 6 offensive linemen, 300+. Patrick Ricard, 300+. That's 7 guys that are 300+ pounders. They ran it inside the first time. This time they can run it outside. Derrick Henry, once again, shoulders square to the line of scrimmage, no one making him stop his feet, and he is getting downhill. Buffalo has to figure out a way to handle this. If they don't, nothing else will matter in this football game. The 6 offensive linemen plus Patrick Ricard. That is the number one challenge for Buffalo defensively. Last week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, Derrick Henry in those situations on first down had 18 carries for 148 yards. If he does that again, nothing else in the football game matters.
Damn, that boy bad.
That's what happens when you play with the lead. You know, Buffalo interacts or counteracts it, they get the lead early in the game.
No doubt, yeah.
Well, as you actually pointed out, speaking of early, it's the early downs.
100%.
Because if they shut him down on first down, go ahead, make the point.
So Todd Monken, their offensive coordinator, consistently last week when week 18, when we had the conversation, when he said, we got to just stay ahead of the chains. Keep Derrick Henry on the field. Because if you win first down for Buffalo defensively and you get it to 2nd and 8, Derrick Henry's not on the field. He's on the sideline because they bring in a Justice Hill type of back because it comes a pass down or pass protection situation. Buffalo has to get Derrick Henry off the field.
And so just to finish up on this topic, the absence of Zay Flowers in particular, if you're the Buffalo defense, it sounds to me like you're basically saying Lamar Jackson, if he's going to beat us, he's going to have to prove he can beat us throwing the ball. We are not letting them run to a victory.
If Zay Flowers doesn't play, Buffalo defensively has to say, Rashad Bateman, you're going to beat us. You're going to keep us from going to the AFC title game. We're going to play more man coverage, what they've done recently. We're going to put an extra body down at the line of scrimmage. And if Rashad Bateman and Lamar beat us through the air,
So here's another component to that whole ordeal. What Buffalo likes to do defensively is play sub personnel. And what that means is that you take a linebacker out, you add another DB, which is normally Taron Johnson.
5 DBs on the field.
Now, when you have a Derrick Henry rushing the football the way he does it, when Baltimore has a lot of big guys on the field, are they going to go to the 3 linebacker look? That's Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, and Matt Milano. Because when you have bigger guys on the football field, it now increases your chances of stopping the run and limiting that first down success of Derrick Henry. So that's the chess piece of Sean McDermott and company. Do they go with the traditional linebacker look, or do they continue to play that sub package on defense?
Well, so J-Mac, you're my defensive coordinator now.
And that's
what
the
are you
part
doing
that you love about this game. What Dan just showed, absolutely. You're putting 3 linebackers on the field. Dorian Williams is coming in for Taron Johnson because, like you just said, there's too many offensive linemen out there to have that many DBs on the field. And they've gone against this. The Patriots did it against them. The Lions did it against them. And they put that extra linebacker on the field. The issue is when you're going against the Baltimore Ravens, you named all of those guys. You talked about Patrick Ricard. Who else is on the field is Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. Those guys are tight ends, but they're also wide receivers. So you can put that personnel group with all of those guys, and then you come out, and next thing you know, you have 2 tight ends split out wide, and that's the issue. If you have an extra linebacker in the game, you're missing one of your best defensive players for Buffalo and Taron Johnson not being on the field.
Like, making this offense play from behind schedule is the #1 challenge for Buffalo. I wanted to hit on the point. So week 4, when they played in Baltimore, beat the tar out of them.
And Buffalo didn't have any other defensive guys out there.
In that sub package, 13 carries for 140 yards. That's over 10 yards a carry. And so that's that sub package that Harry's referencing with those 5 defensive backs. If they live in that, you don't have a chance.
But every Buffalo Bills fan is at home and they're watching the show and they're like, the hell with Dan O is saying, we didn't have Terrell Bernard out there. We didn't have Matt Milano out there.
Taylor Rapp went out with a concussion.
Yes.
But that first play of the game that we just showed, Derrick Henry running that football, me and J-Mac were just talking about it. So Baltimore went 2 receivers to the left side. And I was just telling J-Mac, why wouldn't you go corners over in that situation?
Then you're playing man.
And have a safety backside, because now they had Rasul Douglas backside, and he's the free man, and he's not going up attacking no damn Derrick Henry one-on-one.
Shefty, you and I, of course, do Sunday NFL Countout together, and Rex Ryan said on the show this past weekend, there's only one coordinator in the league. We were talking about defenses. The only coordinator in the league who can stop Derrick Henry is Todd Monken. It's his own. It feels like when Derrick Henry gets going, they're almost unfairly good. Like, where do you go? And maybe the absence of Zay Flowers sort of diminishes that to some degree because they lose their most dynamic weapon on the outside. But that offense is, when he gets going, they're unstoppable.
Of course, and that's why I would say the pressure to stop Derrick Henry is on Buffalo's offense. And Buffalo does its job and gets the lead. That's as good a chance as any of slowing down Derrick Henry. If the offense doesn't keep up, I don't care. They're putting the pressure on the defense, and it is hard to contain Derrick Henry for any defense when the Baltimore Ravens are playing with the lead. When they're playing with the lead, good luck. Good luck trying to stop them.
It's very similar to what we watched Buffalo do against Denver last week when Buffalo had the ball for 41 minutes in that game. You know, that's that is the reality is you're not going to stop Derrick Henry. But the best way to contain him is to, 1, own the football on offense, and then 2, you got to be great on early downs tackling him, and then that spends his game on the sideline.
I'm just curious, as a defensive guy, I've never been one, but as the game goes on, is it harder and harder to tackle a guy like Derrick Henry?
Well, I don't want to tackle him from the opening play, but absolutely. And when you mix in the fact that it's going to be freezing out there, tackling a guy that big, that strong, that powerful, when the temperature's just dropping, yes, by the 4th.
Tried to run to stop him 20 other times.
He ran you over twice, and you got to go back in the 3rd.
Shefty, I'll tell you, I had a front row seat when I played with Derrick Henry in Tennessee. And watching
offense, not its defense, because if the offense in Buffalo does its job and gets the lead, that's as good a chance as any of slowing down Derrick Henry. If the offense doesn't keep up, I don't care. They're putting the pressure on the defense, and it is hard to contain Derrick Henry for any defense when the Baltimore Ravens are playing with the lead. When they're playing with the lead,
That's
good luck. Good luck trying to stop them.
It's very similar to what we watched Buffalo do against Denver last week when Buffalo had the ball for 41 minutes in that game. You know, that's that is the reality is you're not going to stop Derrick Henry. But the best way to contain him is to, one, own the football on offense, and then two, you got to be great on early downs tackling him, and then that spends his game on the sideline.
I'm just curious, as a defensive guy, I've never been one, but as the game goes on, is it harder and harder to tackle a guy like Derrick Henry?
Well, I don't want to tackle him from the opening play, but absolutely. And when you mix in the fact that it's going to be freezing out there, tackling a guy that big, that strong, that powerful, when the temperature's just dropping, yes, by the fourth quarter, he's just leaning on you and that type of power.
And it's his 23rd carry, and you've tried to run to stop him 20 other times.
And he ran you over twice, and you got to go back in the third.
Shefty, I'll tell you, I had a front row seat when I played with Derrick Henry in Tennessee, and watching those secondary people take those mysterious angles so they didn't have to tackle Derrick Henry was unbelievable to me.
Well,
like
Derrick,
safeties.
Derrick
It was even linebackers at times.
He's
taking
pissed off because you were watching instead of blocking.
Hey.
Yeah,
I was on the sideline.
J-Mac, one of these.
My feet.
I saw
I'm a cut blocker. You know that.
I saw last week, I saw some mysterious angles from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
100%.
There's no lies.
And look, let's also
We
point
may
out,
see that play a little later. Yeah.
we haven't seen Derrick Henry in this offense. We have seen Derrick Henry take lesser offenses. I mean, you were on, with all due respect, with far lesser quarterbacks.
Far less, yeah.
Deep into the playoffs. I mean, Derrick Henry has been as effective a playoff weapon as we've seen in recent years. It just doesn't get remembered that well and doesn't get talked about that much. Tennessee was in the AFC Championship game, and at a separate time was the 1 seed with this guy. So it feels.
This is why they got Derrick Henry.
This is why they got him.
100%.
Is this game.
This is why they got Derrick Henry, because they wanted to be able to break the huddle, have the defense go, oh, they're going to run the football, and the offense in Baltimore go, so what?
Yeah.
Stop it.
He did it versus them when he was a Tennessee Titan. He ran for 200 yards when he was pushing Earl Thomas out of the way.
And just one other thing. Last year, the Ravens tried to trade for Derrick Henry at the deadline, and for a while, it looked like they might get him. And I would argue that if they had gotten him last year, their chance of beating the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game certainly would have been enhanced.
Well, they may have not forgotten to run the ball in that game if they had Derrick Henry. We'll see if they remember to do